So you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. Out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that you think in one day, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. So then the same thoughts will always lead to the same choices. The same choices will always create the same behaviors. The same behaviors will produce the same experiences, and the same experiences will create the same emotions, and those same familiar feelings and emotions will drive the same exact thoughts. And your biology, your neurocircuitry, your chemistry, your hormones, your physiology, and your genetic expression will be always equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And so then, your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. You see, most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it's impossible. We literally have to become someone else. Nerve cells that fire together wire together. So as you repeat the same thoughts, choices, behaviors, and experiences, you're forcing your brain to fire in the same sequences, in the same patterns, in the same combinations every day. And as long as you make your brain work the same way every day, you're reproducing the same level of mind. And you begin to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature. So then, does your environment control your thinking? Or we could say, does your personal reality create your personality? So if you wake up every morning and you get out of bed on the same exact side as you did the day before, and then you shut your alarm clock off with the same finger, and then you slip into your favorite slippers and you shuffle into the bathroom, and you use the toilet like you always do, you hurry up and go to bed so you can hurry up and do it all over again the next day. Now here's my question. Did your brain change at all that day? Potential that exists in the quantum field, and emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest? So much so that so can you fall in love with the future potential that exists in the quantum field and emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest? Epigenetics says it's possible. Relax, because the experience is going to find you. If you're no longer going to think the same way or act the same way or feel the same way, you're not going to make the same choices that lead to the same behaviors, that create the same experiences, that produce the same emotions, that make you feel like who you are. You step into the river of change. And now here's the problem. The moment that happens, it begins to feel uncomfortable. It begins to feel unfamiliar. It begins to become unpredictable. And all of a sudden, you're in the unknown. And this is the moment where people define themselves. Because the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. Crossing the river of change is the biological, neurological, chemical, hormonal, addictive, genetic death of the old self. It is a literal dying of the old self. I already know it's possible. I'm here to inspire you to apply it to your life, because the hardest part about all of this, you ready? Hardest part is making the time to do it. That's it. Now, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. The redundancy of this cycle of thinking and feeling and thinking over time conditions the body to memorize that state as well as the conscious mind. And whenever the body knows as well as the mind, that's called a habit. A habit is when your body is the mind. Now, 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, and attitudes that function just like a computer program. You subconsciously become the mind of that state. So then, if you keep thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking in the same way over time, just like any program, the body will know how to do it better than your conscious mind. And when the body becomes the mind, now you're in a habit. And a habit is an unconscious, automatic set of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that is acquired through frequent repetition. 3 brains in one that allow you to go from thinking to doing to being. Your thinking brain is your neocortex. You're listening to me right now with your neocortex. It's the seat of your conscious awareness. It's that walnut on the outside with all of its folds and valleys. And the neocortex plugs us into the environment, and it loves to learn information. And as you experience and you learn, you upgrade the hardware and the circuits in your thinking brain. Quantum field only responds to who you're being. Not what you're thinking, not what you're feeling, but who you're being. So then how is self-love built? So many people in this culture confuse pleasure with self-love. It's nothing to do with each other. It's not about a manicure or a new car or a massage, or not that I have anything against any of those things. But self-love is built when you're sitting there and your body is raging. And it's telling you it can't, and you're sitting there and you're working with it. And sooner or later, it acquiesces and it surrenders to your mind. And I can tell you from experience, I have sat with my body for hours. And the moment I freed my body from the past, and there was that liberation of energy, the voice came out of my head every time, and it's always the same voice. That was so worth it. Because the moment the body is free from being enslaved, that moment you are seeing reality from a whole different place. So then you get up, and you've overcome yourself, and you've freed your body from the chains of the past. You've created a future. You're already in that future. And as my daughter always says, I just live my life as if my prayer is already answered. So how would you live your life if you knew your prayers were already answered? But that means then you have to get up as if your prayers are already answered. So then people are doing this around the world, and they're creating all kinds of wonderful things in their life. They're doing the uncommon, which, by the way, is our birthright. And that no material thing is going to bring us to true happiness. That our purpose in life, then, is to begin to look at those emotions that keep us anchored to the past, and look at our habits that keep us defining ourselves in the same way, and begin to remove those layers within us that block the flow of the divine. And as we begin to layer by layer peel those limitations away, the masks, that intelligence that's giving us life begins to leak out of us. It begins to consume us. Its nature becomes our nature. Its mind becomes our mind. Its will becomes our will. Its consciousness becomes our consciousness. Its love becomes our love. We become like it. We start to give. It is a giver. And so then, when that occurs, then all of a sudden you start to experience a level of joy that's coming from within you. That you're no longer seduced by the conditions in your external life, and you would never judge another person because you wouldn't want to lose this feeling. How many people are with me? Now listen, all of you in this room, every single one of you have done something great in your life. Would you agree? I'm talking to the part of you that already knows this. That all of you have done something that you are proud of, that you are in love with yourself for. There are no schools of ancient wisdom on the top of the Himalayas waiting for us to be initiated. Your life is your initiation. That the conditions and challenges in your life, the adversity, is for you to meet those challenges with a new level of mind. And I don't care. Listen, I react to things all the time in my life. The question is, how long are you going to do it? You can't tell me you want abundance, but you feel lack. You can't feel lack. An abundant person doesn't feel lack. They feel abundance. So then gold only attracts gold. Lead doesn't attract gold. So then we have to really demonstrate all the things that we want to see in the world. And if you're overcoming your fear and anxiety, and I'm overcoming my frustration and anger, and I'm working on me and you're working on you, we're more prone to really serve and give, and we begin to connect on a deeper level. So then the process of change requires unlearning and relearning. It requires breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing a new self. It requires pruning synaptic connections and sprouting new connections. It requires unmemorizing emotions that are stored in the body and then reconditioning the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. It requires no longer signaling the same genes in the same old ways and starting to signal new genes in new ways. It requires deprogramming and reprogramming, losing your mind and creating a new one. We could say moving your energy out of the past and putting it into the future.